So this class is clearly unhappy to begin with because it needs a constructor, right? Since employee requires an employee construction with a name, we can provide a similar constructor here. You can say public manager constructor, which also takes a string name, and most likely it will have to delegate this to a superclass constructor so that it will take the name from our local constructor, and we can add our own factory for employees and managers, and we can go now to here and say new class, and say employee factory, which sounds a little weird, but we will use this as an example. And so employee factory will be a public class which will have basically a method which will be the creator method. So typically it would be a static I'll put public in front of it, I guess. Public. I prefer to use access specifier in front, so that's why. Public static employee. Actually, let's use this iSecure interface to say create employee, right? Create employee. And this will say give me the type, string type. We'll use the type of employee here earlier on, and so when we create an employee, we'll say if the type equals E, we will create an employee, right? E equals, I need to spell this right. We will just do what this particular slide does. We will basically generate one type of class. We'll just say return new employee, right? And that is new employee, and then of course we will have to give it a name, and therefore maybe we can use a string name over here as well, right? So else, otherwise we will create a manager, right? Otherwise, most likely, according to business logic, we will check for the M type, just to be specific. So you can see under certain conditions we can create different classes. So what I meant to do here is else, and of course use the closing brace here. Okay, that works. Else if that, and of course otherwise I can go to an extreme like this, return null, right? So just for the lack of better idea, I'll just say, okay, I'll check for E for employee and check for manager, and I'll create employee or manager. You can see that this factory method creates an object and returns back a secure object which has provides access to a specific interface, but it does great deal of checking and internal processing, and even it creates an employee and a manager internally. We would refer to a method like this as a factory method, right? So this would be our employee factory method, and this is one of the creational patterns in software, where you basically say object creation can be associated with some very specific checks and logic pieces, which are very important at the time of creation of an object. So therefore, let's isolate this and hide it from the rest of the code inside a creator method. But then typically, what do you get as a result? You get an interface on which you can rely. And most likely, this should be something like employee interface, which will include all other types of methods that the employee should provide besides secure and others. So but this would be the look and feel for the factory method, which is responsible in your application for creation of objects based on different kinds of conditions. So that's an example of that. So I'm not going to elaborate any more on this, just to give you an example that once again, how do you create different object and still return it from your method? Well, you can rely on an interface, right? You can create a useful interface which you return from that method. And of course, we already know that dynamic polymorphism, that dynamic behavior at runtime, will very successfully invoke the methods of the implementation of our methods, rather, inside the employee or inside the manager class, and everything will work just fine. Just make sure that your interface includes the right methods, that everybody is happy to use those methods, and that is then making possible to rely on specific implementation for that specific class. So once again, I'm not going to spend more time on this, just move on. But in situations like this, it's almost impossible to implement this any other way but return an interface reference from a method in a situation where you have to make decision regarding specific creation of a specific type of object. Clonable interface.